Okay, so my name is Zack, and this is my project for the final unit of our technologies course. So this is my course. This is my code. So to start, we import Pygame, uh, random in time, and then let's explain the code, and I'll get into the demonstration. So to start, we have just the basic stuff like setting the height, initializing it, setting the window, and the name. And then we have these are the variables that can't be set inside the other while loops, which we'll get to. So I'm just going to start by starting the program. So this is my program to start. It gives you a little tutorial. So WSD or arrow keys to move. And then make sure you keep moving or you'll be captured because there's a guy chasing you. And press enter to continue. So press enter. You select your character. So you have 4 options. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stickman, like a stick dog, kangaroo, or frog. Let's choose the stickman. So I press 1 and the game starts. So I think there's a timer up here, and this is the guy chasing you. So this is the game. As we're going through, you can see there are roads and there are like safe areas. And so there are 3 different types of cars. There is a Prius, which is 60% chance of spawning, Vespa, which is 5% chance of spawning, and a truck, which is like 30% chance of spawning. And there's about a 60% chance of road spawns, and there's a 5% chance of train track spawns, which didn't happen this time you ran. And how the code works for the spawning. Okay, we'll start with this. This is a tutorial that, if I reset, this right here, this is the code for tutorial. So start tutorial equals true. And so as you're going through it, this is the while loop for tutorial. So while tutorial is true, which is set here, you can quit it and turn off every single loop, so the game just ends. And if you press return, tutorial goes false, which ends the loop. And start this sets the font for all the text that appears here. And down here, this is screen back, and this puts the font on the screen and updates the display. And so that's all the code tutorial. And after you press enter, which makes this false, you move into the play again loop, which is also set to be true here. So the play again loop, this is the really big loop. Wait, yeah, this is a really big loop. And in play again, there's character select, which once again is set to be true up here. And so this, it loads all the images, all 4 of these images. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, as you see here, you get different PNGs. And then making the text, this makes the text for this in the 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there you go. And then down here, this is the code to allow you to be quit. And down here, this is checks for key presses. So press 1, it selects it to false, and it makes character choose equal 1, which we'll get into later. And same thing for the other codes. And as you move down, this sets the text. This like renders it, and then down here, this puts the text in the screen, and this puts the character in the screen, and makes the screen black, which is why this is all black. And then up to the display, and so this will continue happening until you press 1, 2, 3, or 4. So if I press, let's say 5, nothing happens. Press anything, but if I press, let's say 3, the code continues. And so this is the main loop. So you set the variables. This in the play again loop, which the wild character select is in. But once this ends, this loop ends, and then it gets to this part of the loop. And so this starts. You set all the variables. There's a lot of variables to start with, and all of these allow me to determine if a road's there, if a train's there. We'll get that later. And this sets the other stuff that can be set inside the loop. And to start, we make the character. So if character choose equal 1, which up here you choose, so if character choose equal 4, because you chose the 4th one, it will load the 4th image, and it will get the rect of that image, and it will get the center, which places the character in like the spot. And this is the creepy guy, who is chasing you, and this sets him on the place 2. And now we're starting making the areas. So number of areas is 13, and when you're playing, you can see 10 areas here, but there also are 3 that spawn above here. And that is so you can going back is pretty important, because you get like stuck in a spot like here. I can go back. It's better when there's like a lot of roads in one lane. It makes more sense. But so you can only go back 3 times, which is the maximum number. And the guy's here now, so it's hard to go back. Look, Well, but you understand what I'm saying. And this, these make all these lists, but they're all currently empty. And then we get that, and then this we'll get into later. But essentially, hard is equal to false currently, which is set above, and that makes x equals 9. And x, the higher the value of x, the more roads that spawn, which is shown here, which we'll get into. So to start, this sets the safe areas in the loop, and this loop runs number of areas, which is currently 13. And so it'll make 13 safe areas, and also it'll make 13 train areas, like train tracks, which we'll show later. And it makes all of them, it puts their x coordinate at 0 and puts their y coordinate at negative 50,000, which that just like puts it far away from the screen, so that if it's not ended up using, it's just like not there. And then same thing happens to the train image. And then so if a percent of number of areas equals 0, so a is this. So if it's ran like, let's say once, a equals 1, and a divided by 13, right, when it be 0 divided by 13, because it's ran 0 times, and equals 0. And if that's happening, if it's only ran once, it will choose a number between 1 and 20. If the number is not 20, it will run this. And if this number is less than x, which is up here, it will put a safe area there. If not, it will put a road there, which is what this means. R underscore 3, because this is for negative 300. And that just tells me for later in the code that a road has been placed in this spot. And if it is equal to 20, it will spawn a train there, which it equals 3, underscore 3, and then it's train loop. You'll notice that there's no actual road, like, image. That's because the background is the same color as the road. So technically, like, when you run it, there's no actual road here, it's just the background. So there's no actual image for the road. And so, yeah. And so, there we go. And then this continues 13 more times. As you see, this is all the safe areas. But once you get to this area, it doesn't, there's no chance of it spawning a road on this area, because this is where you spawn. Obviously, this part is always green from here, here, and here. It's always green so that you don't spawn on a car and immediately die. That's pretty important. And then, way behind you, a road can spawn at 900, like y equals 900. And now we're gonna make the cars. So on the car images, so once again, empty list, empty list. This number of cars, there's 20 cars in the whole thing. And train car image, train car look. So for B in range, which is a different letter than A, for number of cars, so it runs 20 times. And to start, we set all the images for the cars. So since there's 3 different types of cars, there are 3 images. So it's like this. And this code here determines which image is going to be used. If it's a Prius, a truck, or a Vespa. So if range is not equal to 20, if it's less than 12, it will become image 1, which is just Prius, which is 60% chance of a car being just like a Prius. And if it is more than 12, it will become a truck, which is about like 35% of it being a truck. And if it is 20, it will become a Vespa, which is image 3. And I mean 5% of it being a truck. And then it gets like the rect of it, so like makes it a rectangle. So it has like a hitbox, and then it puts them far away if unused, similar to the safe areas above. And now we set up the train. It's the same sort of code, but there's none of this. It just makes the image, and then this scales the image so it's like fits the screen. Oh no, yeah. And so right here, this train, since it's like very long, it's 3,500 long and it's 90 tall. And then this sets the image and everything. And then down here, train car random spawn. So it chooses number between 2,400, and that's where it spawns. Offer the x coordinate, and then that makes it so not all the trains go at like the exact same time. Which I did a similar thing with the cars, which you'll see later. And once again, it puts it far away. And then this makes it so, where is it? All cars spawn with x equals 1,100, which is so they spawn off the screen. And this will be explained further later. So every car spawns at x equals 1,100. And this is similar to the thing above. I used modulo, so it's b% of 10, And if T0 is true, which above here, see, if the train spawn T4 is true, so that'd be for the fourth place. So if T0 is true, a train spawns. And if T0 is not true, if R0 is true, it will run this, which if C0 is false, this will happen. It will spawn it at a random point at 200. It will spawn the X coordinate at 200 or 1000. And so this like kind of almost overwrites this, as one car always spawns at 1100, one car always spawns at 2000, a number between 200 and 1000. And if C0, it's like, imagine car like 0. So if a car has already spawned here in this position, it will instead spawn 1100. This seems kind of strange, but it's so that you don't have cars like overlapping on top of each other, which is a bug I faced for a long time, which is very hard for me to fix. And this is how I fixed it. And then if not, it spawns 50,000. And so this continues 10 more times. And it continues 10 more times, but since there's 20 cars, so each lane will have 2 cars. So this continues, and then now we're in the functions. So this is random road, so it chooses number between 1 and 2. This decides whether the car goes left to right or right to left, and it chooses the speed. And it's random uniform, that way it's very rare for 2 cars to have like the exact same speed. And so if random road, which is this, if it equals 1, it would time the random speed with -1, which makes it negative, would make the car go to the left. And otherwise it makes the car go to the right, or not, because it's positive. And similar thing with the random train, but there's no random speed. They're always going 20. And it chooses, this is to make it negative or positive. So 50% chance the car train goes left, 50% chance it goes right. And this calls all the functions. So this is for the car speed, and this is for the train speed. And this sets the caption. And this is for making the score and high score. And so this right here, these two are shown on the screen, and these four, all of this is for later, which you'll see when you die, and this is the time at the top of the screen, which you'll see in moments when I start the game. And so this sets up the score, this high score, and this is the timer at the top. And it just sets the color white, so I can just type white and it becomes white. And so this sets the clock. We'll set up the clock that is used for the timer, and this starts the clock. And now we're getting into the while running loop. So while the thing is running, you can quit, which ends everything. And if you press left, if the character is not if the character is like too far to the left or too far to the right, you can't go that way anymore. And if that's not true, like if they can still go, and we'll go off the screen, your character goes to the left 50 times, like 50 places, and the guy also follows you. That's who's chasing, also goes left. And then the same thing happens with the going right. And now you can add it also to this. This is pressing D. This is pressing the right arrow key. So arrow keys and the WSD both work because of this. And so if you press W, it will, for A in range, which is number of areas, it's a similar thing for above. A in range, it was safe loc, so it makes the safe area move down 1 and makes the train move down 1, the train tracks. Which, as you can see here, your character here does not actually move. That's strange. It's very rare that that's actually quite rare, as this whole thing is randomly generated, so it's extremely rare that the whole thing is going to be grass, as there's about a 60% chance of a road spawning, and a 30 possible place a road could spawn. But, because since this whole thing is randomly generated, it can be really hard sometimes, and it can be really easy. It depends what it is. But as you can see here, the character does not actually move, like this guy. He's not actually moving, the whole background is moving towards him, and he's staying still. And when you go backwards, the background is moving up, and he's staying still. And so that's why, for here, this moves, but our guy doesn't move. And then, something happens with the cars, and then this is to make it so you can't go back that much. So, in the S area, so when you press S, back is +1. And then if back is less than 3, you can still go back. But if back is more than 3, or it's like you can't go back anymore. It doesn't let you back. Because that way, if you go back 4 times, you go like off the map as the map loops. So there's only like the whole scene loops. You can see here, it's the same thing. So once it goes like way down here, it just like teleports up to the top. That's why you can't go back infinitely. And then if back is not 0, that way it doesn't go into like the high negatives. And so back can only okay. Back if back is 3, you can't get any more. Every time you move forward, back is -1. But so that back doesn't become like -20, and you can go back a lot, it stops at 0, so you can't go past 0. And score +1. And this here makes the guy chasing you doesn't get too far away from you. So you subtract his location from your location, and if that difference is less than 450, he'll move back. But if it's more than 450, he won't move back anymore. And you'll so the most he can be is like 450 away from you. And similar thing for moving S, like backwards, but the score is -1 instead of +1. That way, as you see up here, you score 1, like 2, 3, but when you move back, it goes down by 1. And right here, this is the high score. Let's see, it doesn't change until we get to 42. The high score doesn't change until you're above it, and then it will start to change with you. See, now above it, and now it moves. And if I move back, it stays at 48. And I'll get to these later. And I did that through this. This is the only code for the high score. If score is greater than high score equals score. That's all it is. And this sets this calculates like time that has passed for the timer, and this renders all the text that you see on the screen, including this text, which we'll get to in a second. So now we're going to keep on moving down through the code. This is so if the safe areas, if they are greater than 1200, they move to 0, and that's how the things go from the top to the bottom. That's how they teleport. And same thing, this is for train tracks, and this puts the 2 on the screen, like the screen lit, the safe area and the train area. And then this, which we'll need in a second, but essentially this is what makes the guy move forward. And so every time the whole thing is run, he's -1, which means he moves up 1 every time this whole loop runs once. And now this is for the cars. This sets the speed for all the cars. So this is a big loop for all the cars. And it's similar to the thing above using modulo. And so it seems weird, but it's so that every car in the same lane, they don't like overtake each other and run each other over. Every car in the same lane is the same speed, as you can see. And that's what this does, because it's modulo. So it's like lane 0, it has like this 0. And the same thing for trains. And then lane 1 has like lane 1 speed. And that happens a bunch. And this moves the cars back at the top of the screen. This moves the trains back at the top of the screen, similar to the areas moving up. And this moves the cars from left to right, right to left. And this moves the train from left to right to right to left. And ignore immunity, we'll get to that in a second. But this is what detects if you collide with it, if you hit something. Let's see, like if I hit a car, I die. And that is detected through collider rect, which detects it's like the rectangles overlap each other. And that does happen. Dead equals true, and then your death reason equals squished. And that's the text. And this we'll get to dead in a second. But this screen blits everything, and this puts the character on the screen. This puts all the text on the screen that's used in this. This puts like the high score, the score, and the stopwatch. And this puts the guy on the screen. And it's a similar thing for for the creepy guy. So but instead it's a different thing. It's not just in the same thing as this, because it's a different death reason. So it's if you get hit by him, that equals true, and death reason equals like you're Yadin. And this end screen text equals this renders it, but it's not the other renders, as it has to have these variables already decided before it's rendered. And now this is the dead loop. So if you're dead, this will run. If you're not dead, this won't run. You'll skip it until you're dead. So once you're done, it makes the whole thing black, and then it puts all this text on that I rendered earlier, and then it allows you to quit. And then if you press return, it will running equals false and dead equals false, which will, what you can see here, it says press enter to play again. So if you press enter, dead equals false, so this loop ends, and running also equals false. So this whole loop ends, and then this loop up here, where is it? Where's the running? Where is play again loop? It's way up here. This loop starts again. And so that means the whole thing is generated once again, but it doesn't do character select because character select is already false. You already chosen your character. So it skips that, and it basically starts from here. And so it sets all these variables back to false, and it reused the whole thing, and that's how, if you look, like this is the map currently, and I die, and the map changes to this. And see, it's like different every time you play. It's completely random generated the whole map. It's back down here, and then if you press C, which is right here, press C to change your character, it will make character select equal true. So now when the whole thing runs, let's go back to the top. Now when the whole thing runs, this will run again, so you re-choose your characters. If I press C, it takes me back to the menu. I can choose 3 this time, and be kangaroo. Or I can choose be the frog. Okay, it's Frogger. That's why I chose a frog. I can be this guy too. We'll be kangaroo for now. And then going back to the very bottom, we're down here, and this updates the display for the dead loop. This updates the display for the running loop, which is this loop that all this is in. And then we have clock tick. This caps the frame rate, which makes sure that the timer doesn't get like messed up. And it counts actual seconds. It doesn't count like way too many seconds. It just goes too quick if you're in like a really fast stuff. And then if everything ends, Pagam quit, which quits everything. And that like closes the menu, which is what like this does. And so that's the basics of it. Now, I also had a little fun, and I added some like cheat codes almost into here. So I had 2 of them. So down here, we'll start with immunity. So if you press I, immunity equals true. If you press I and immunity already equals true, it becomes false, and it prints immunity off. And if it was false, it becomes true, it prints immunity on. Then you see here, if you look here, right here, press I, and now I'm immune. And I press I again, immunity is off, I can die. And also, to help not break it, this guy's coming for you. If I press I, he just stops. There we go. Press I again, he's going to start moving. You'll see in a second. Once he gets to me. There you go. And see, this message changed. So this is Godden. When he gets you, that's why it's in a... That's why this is in a separate loop than this. And it's not just the same thing. And if you get hit by a car or train, it can place this message. It's a little tip. So you understand why you died. And then, if immunity equals false, this happens. So if it equals true, which is what this does, you can't die. That's how the collisions don't happen, because immunity equals true, so there's no collision detections. Another thing, because during my playtesting, a lot of people wanted to try what it was like with like a lot of cars. So I also added, if you press H, if hard equals true becomes false, and if hard equals false becomes true. And so what hard does is, this is back at the X part, way up here. If hard equals false, X9. If hard equals true, X equals 20. So that means that every time a road can spawn, or a train area, it does spawn. So let's start it again. And we'll go over here. We'll turn immunity on, as you can see here, and then we'll turn hard on. So now when I die, and I reset it, this whole thing's here. I'll turn immunity back on. It's all roads. There has to be 3 blocks of safe area, as that is like the place where you spawn here or die. See, there's 3 blocks of safeness here. There's 1, 2, 3, and that way you don't like spawn on a car. And that's just a pretty important part of the game. And up here, as you see, the score, it goes negatives. That way you can just like farm score like this. I also added a timer up here. So let's say you're playing it against your friends and you're trying to get like the highest score in the shortest time. As that's also what people have said they liked in playtesting. Let's say I die now. It shows my score and it shows my score and it shows my time. Just say I can try to beat that. I get 22 in less time. Oh, okay, I died. But you see, I'm coming from. And I think that's essentially the whole code. It's a lot of lines. It was really complicated making, especially the modulo. That was really hard. And to make it so the collisions work better, I had to shrink the images down a lot. If you go in here, that's the wrong folder. You see, I can go into Crossy Road. Like the images, they're like very narrow. This is for the character. It's like there's not very much hitbox space, and so that's how I made the collisions work better. Because also during playtesting, a lot of people complained that like they didn't like technically hit the car and they still died, and that's because the images were too big. So now you see when the car hits me, it's like I die when it actually hits me, not when it comes close. Also, it's going to showcase the trains. Here's train tracks. So the trains, they take a little bit to come by. As they come, they're quite long, so they take a long time. Oh, I forgot about that guy. I turn immunity on, so I'm just gonna find trains to demonstrate this here. Turn immunity on, so the guy won't get me. Immunity is more for playtesting, but also is kind of fun cheat code. So you can see the trains are very long, so it doesn't seem very hard right now. But if you have the guy chasing you right here, trying to get away, and if it's in the middle of a road and you get stuck here, so like if I hit it, I die. And so yeah. And also the train hits me, I die. And so yeah, I thought trains were a pretty cool part of the game. They weren't initially in my plan. Instead of planning on adding like a water area, but I decided trains better fit the theme of the game rather than like water. So I changed that. There are a few things that changed from my plan. Like that. And also add a timer. It's not initially in my plan. But I think they're all good additions. And so I think that's my code. Thank you for watching.